Oh, so you're looking to have a scary game night, but turns out your game of choice is not meant for horror. Well, fear not, we're gonna learn from some of the best tabletop games that have to do with horror and the mechanics for how they implement that feeling.
It's fear, panic, sanity.
Let's get right into it, shall we? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming, where we like talking about tabletop gaming, and because it's the spooky season, we're getting into horror and fear and all other kinds of fun stuff. Now, we're going to start talking about some key aspects for what makes a game scary from some of the best.
Man fears what he does not understand.
Understanding and chaos and craziness like that, I think, really adds a lot to your game. Some examples, like a simple example, is East Texas University from Savage Worlds has a table called High Strangeness, and that table is excellent because it keeps this random, chaotic, strange nature happening throughout that maybe has nothing to do with anything. All of a sudden, the drink that someone is drinking, there's no liquid in it. Just like weird shit like that really freaks people out. Not meant to necessarily give like red herrings, but just that weirdness really just messes with the players. Because keep in mind, your players, chances are you're not gonna scare them. And if you are scaring them, you might be going too far. You wanna scare the characters, right? You wanna scare the characters, but you wanna make your players maybe like uneasy about the situation. And this is one of the ways. Lack of understanding what's happening. Another perfect example is Vaesen. With Vaesen, the monsters, they have to kind of figure out what is happening, very Witcher-esque. It's never clear what the monster is or what their motivations are or how to deal with them, if you can even deal with them at all. So it's important not to give away too much. The unknown, in that case, is very helpful, and in most cases. And of course, the idea of forbidden knowledge is spread throughout things like Cthulhu and Delta Green. There's a lot you don't know, and it directly correlates. The more you know, the more like kind of messed up you're gonna get, which then adds the flip side of that coin, which is that there are some things that
man is simply not meant to know.
And that is that forbidden knowledge. And Cthulhu and Delta Green are perfect examples of that, where they are just revealing more than they should and how it is actually affecting them and their character. Now, this next one might be a little spicy because it has to do with agency, and agency can be a little touchy for players, but when done well, most people end up enjoying it, but you have to be very careful because
man fears what he cannot control.
Now, a classic example of something like that, you could use just about any fantasy game that has fear rolls, right? We're not gonna say the obvious ones, but we're gonna say things like Shadow Dark and 13th Age and Savage Worlds, of course. Yeah, pretty much any. I feel like most games have a fear roll of some kind. Sometimes it's just seeing the creature, and there'll maybe be like a fear roll with some type of modifier or target number. Maybe it's seeing a very gruesome scene and how you deal with that. Delta Green really dives into that in a great way. Why we're mentioning control specifically for this is because depending on the game, there are varying degrees of reactions to fear and panic and stress that causes the character to do something that the player would not necessarily do in that moment, but the character is going to because that's what they rolled. That can be kind of hit or miss. Some people can embrace it. I love when people embrace it, and I think the vibes and the trust definitely plays a big part in that. Now, for some great examples outside of the traditional fear rolls, we have things like monster of the week, which has like a stress bar. Not so much the random tables, but just building up stress overall over time. And even like Ironsworn too, I've seen that implemented in ways where you can use the progress bar or pie graph in Blades in the Dark. Blades in the Dark also has stress and trauma on top of that. Yeah, you can utilize those to figure out like where the breaking point is for the character. The classic examples though, things like Mothership and Alien, just the perfect, like when you picture Alien the video game where, you know, the soldier loses his mind and he starts shooting off in the distance with his assault rifle. Just chef's kiss. That is the perfect like character failed fear roll or panic roll. Alien does it very well too, where, you know, you're adding stress dice to accomplish things that gives you more opportunities in your dice pool to achieve things. You have a higher awareness because of the stress of the situation, but when things go bad, things go real bad. And then also the Walking Dead and Vaesen, pretty much all of the Year Zero engine games have some flavor of that. Now, let's get into a favorite of mine.
Choice and the Devil's Bargain.
The Devil's Bargain specifically, of course, is speaking of Blades in the Dark. I do love the idea. Blades in the Dark just really leans into it. But other games do a version of this too, where this is the thing that you want. I will help you, me the GM, I will give you a little nudge that may help you get to your goal. Whether you're getting like more dice or whatever, making it a little easier. But there's a price that you're going to have to pay. And Delta Green has another excellent version of this where your character's going through a lot of stress and it becomes too much, but you can actually offload that onto your loved ones, which is so messed up, but it is a thing that's a part of the game. It just makes it that much like darker because it's affecting you at home, and you can affect them so much that things don't work out, which downward spirals into potentially more stress. The Walking Dead and their anchors is another good example too, where you have these groups of people, friends, family, whatever, that you lean on, and whenever you lose those people, whether it's from your own doing or someone else's doing, a lot of stress. But we're talking about choice. We're talking about choice and the importance of choice. So the choice in that case being where you are diverting your resources. Blades in the Dark, even outside of the Devil's Bargain, you can use stress to make things, give yourself a better chance. Year Zero engine, doing the same thing, right? And Savage Worlds also has a version of this with their bennies. You can always, use a benny to get something done, and you can work things out with your GM to affect the story too. Having reviewed all that, what are our general tips that we can apply into any game to some level to make things that much spookier? Make knowledge dangerous, because no man is meant to know these forbidden, dark secrets that exist out there, right? Because of course, in most games, your character or your players are gonna want to learn and take in as much as possible. And having a little bit of that be like a little dangerous, I love that idea, and it makes things a little uneasy. Fear, sanity, and making things cost something. Whether it is, your own mind or your relationships with other people. Ideally, we're not attacking just HP, health pools, or even like mental health pools, but at least mental gives you some type of track. Ideally, you're attacking the story, some type of cost. Random tables for losing control, because now this means you, the GM, are not the one that's doing this to the player. It was the player that rolled, and then after the player rolled, random tables then decided what happened to them. In this case, they ran in the opposite direction and jumped out a window. And it's always important to leave space for the unknown. Regardless if you know the answer or not, people's imaginations are far more dangerous than the details that you're going to provide. I promise you that.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment down below.
That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming together.